Good afternoon, everybody. All right, so we're back here just doing a simple one today. Building 150 amp power supply is what we've got here that we put together. Nothing too fancy today. I guess some others. Went ahead and I got the cabinet all drilled out and placement fits, what have you. So we're actually basically going to do the assembly and everything else. I've got all the slow work essentially done, so should go by fairly quick. But anyhow, we've got all of our modules set, and for Mr. O's request, I've got it set to 14.3. He wanted it a little hot, but he didn't want it real hot. He wanted to be able to go ahead and have a really easy mix for radios and amplifiers, so that he's not overvolting his equipment. So he asked me what I could do, and I told him, and kind of left it up to me as far as on what setting to use. So I went for something a little bit lower than what I've been setting everything at. For the most part, I typically set things unless somebody asks. I usually go for 14, 14, typically anywhere from 14.4 to 14.6. This one, we're actually dropping it down just a little bit more. Not that that's going to hurt anything. It's actually just going to take and make his equipment last a little longer. He's just wanting to loaf everything along and not abuse any of his equipment that he hooks to it. So that's kind of where we're at today. So I got the wires already pre-cut, but I've got to get them all tinned. That's actually a desoldering station, but yeah, I've had that one for about 10 years now. I had a large version of it that is the soldering iron and the little heat gun on the side for the SMT and SMD stuff. Now I did recently, here in the last 6-8 months, actually about the last year, I actually did away with that on my physical workbench. The reason why is, and I'd had it for just about the same length of time. Now I actually did away with that one. Hello, Warren. I did away with that one and went back to the Weller, mainly because of the physical size. I just keep getting more and more equipment, so trying to get things that's a little more economical in size. I don't do that much SMT work and everything, so I've kind of walked away from the soldering iron station side of it. I will be putting it back up on the other side of the workbench eventually, but I got a newer version which has got the solder sucker and the soldering iron at the same time. But yes, as far as the products are concerned, they've been really good. As far as the overall, like I said, the other one, the desoldering station there, I've had it for, like I said, going on about 10 years. I've went through a couple of guns. I'm actually on my third gun in 10 years, but I probably would still only be on 2 if it wouldn't have been for the fact that I dropped it and it hit just right on the concrete in here. So yeah, it happens. But anyways, today, like I said, we're just putting together a small power supply. I've got another 400 amp to build for, I believe it's 473 down there in Mississippi. So we're going to be working on that probably this evening. But I want to try to get this one taken care of for Gary. Great guy. Done quite a bit of business over the years with him. Called me up, and his big thing is he, just like everybody else, kind of wants it now. And I told him, I should be able to get you one out by Friday for sure. Since I had kind of an opening on the workbench, I figured we'd go ahead and jump in here. And yeah, I need a bigger bench. The sad part of it is if you guys remember from some of the Facebook pictures and whatnot, I actually gutted this one section that I'm working at now. Brought the bench out about 4 extra inches. I wanted to go 6, but that just wasn't in the cards because of the window and everything that's back over here on the one side. But I did go from 6 foot in length to 8 feet. So that's another big thing that's kind of helping there. Hopefully, if it wasn't for this COVID-19 stuff, one of the things that I was looking into actually potentially getting this year, and most of the stuff I've got is pretty well up to date as far as the oscilloscope and what have you. To kind of condense down a little bit more and make more room here, I was actually looking at replacing the spectrum analyzer and my one oscilloscope. The only thing of it is, it's about an $8,000 upgrade to what I currently have, which that's a lot of money, especially now that I'm doing this part-time instead of doing this full-time. But anyhow, yep, we're going to go ahead. The only other thing that I don't have already pre-cut, and we'll get to that here shortly, is the AC wires, because I've got to grab a cord and the connection for the back so that we can go ahead and get that ran. I just got this in here momentarily. I've just got screws in there, just mainly checking the fitment and stuff, and to make sure that I allow for enough room here behind the one module that has to be offset. The RFX75 from me. I haven't had an RFX75 in here, and gee golly, I'm gonna say 7 years. It was probably an 85 is what I would guess instead of the 75. But I do remember selling one because I did have some here a while back. There it is. So used to putting screwdrivers up, I didn't realize I still had this one out. But yes, actually, I do remember that, oddly enough. Sometimes these big wires just are a little more pain. And I've seen people solder these. I've seen them do just like me and put them in here and clamp them down. And, you know, I've had just as good a luck soldering as I have using the screw terminals. We're actually using 10 gauge wire on this. Sometimes I use 12, depending on how much flexibility that I need. For example, in that DAC 200, you know, I actually used it's a heavy 14. They call it a 12, but the reality is, because you're dealing with the metric version versus the US standard, you know, it's actually a little bit smaller than 12 gauge. So I doubled it up on that, but that was just giving more flexibility so that I can move stuff around. Most of the time I usually like to use, especially on something like this where I've got essentially 12 to 14 inches max. You know, I like to use about a 10 gauge. Yes, I know 10 gauge is supposedly only rated for 30 amps, but that's based off of a 10 foot, you know, that's a consistent current draw based on a 10 foot length. So you can actually increase the amperage by shortening the wire to a certain degree. So that's where we're at today. Let me grab the other modules here. you're definitely welcome, Randall. Oh. So normally at this time of the day through the week, my other job, usually I'm at work or still in bed sleeping. Actually, at this time of the day, I'm usually sleeping. I don't get out here very often whenever I'm working at my other job. Very often just because of time restraints. So this is usually a weekend thing for me to do any YouTube videos. It's kind of nice to be in here with you guys for a little while and actually enjoy some bench time. So how's everybody been today? Here in Indiana, it's been kind of cool the last few days with the weather being like it's been. You guys are getting quiet on me again. Well, that's no good. Yeah, there for a long time, those things were very, very hard to get a hold of. I've made a couple of orders since then, since they've come out with the RFX 95, and I haven't looked, which I haven't had any calls for those in some time. But the RFXs, they're popular only to a degree. I don't know how else to say that other than that. I kind of like the little, the 85s was definitely an upgrade. Then they had the 95s, and I like them even better. But the problem is I don't get a lot of calls for those anymore. I actually still stock one at a time. I used to buy anywhere from 4 to 6 at a time. And, the last couple of years, I've just not had enough people ask for those. But what I have been taking stock in is modules. I had 5 come in the other day, 4 of them's getting ready to go out the door, and I've got another 5 on order, which puts me 1 more up from what I was. So usually whenever I place an order, I usually order anywhere from 5 to 10 of these at a time, in order to go ahead and keep my stock levels up enough to where I can build a few things ahead. Once I get back to work and things start leveling back out, I'm actually going to be putting more money into the shop as well. Give me just a second. Let me get this other wire out. I know that sounds wonderful, but anyhow, yeah, I've got a wire rack built. It's not quite big enough. I've got the stuff to build another one, so I'm actually going to use pieces and parts from the one that I've got here, and break it down, and I'm going to build one that's just a little bit taller. It's going to be about a foot taller, and I'm going to make it, hopefully, if I've got enough here, I'm going to try to make it at least another 6 inches wider, which will give me about 5 more spools of wire. Yeah, they did make a 150 for a very short time. I've only ever installed one of those. The 150, part of it, there again, it's economical, but at the same time, it's kind of a pain to put those on. But it is a great upgrade, especially if you're in a situation where you really don't have the room for an amplifier, but you want just a little bit more out of the particular type of radio you prefer to run. So, just like anything else, it has its place. I still prefer, a traditional linear outside of it, but those work really well, and I've had really good luck out of them. Kind of get our guesstimate. So this one being 110 or being 150 amps, this one we're just going to set it at a nominal 110 for the incoming voltage. Spent about half a day the other day, I think Monday, when I come into the shop, and I sat there and took where I had made several purchases on the Teflon wire, and I put four spools kind of together. I rewrapped the one spool that I have that's above my workbench, and it holds about 550 to 600 feet of number 16. So I went ahead and did that, and then with the other, here. But anyways, yeah, what I did with the others, I put them all together, tied them end to end, and ran 1,000 foot per spool onto one. So I've got somewhere around 3,500 feet left on that one roll now. But damn Christmas, that did make that saved a lot of room just getting those up off the floor. It's very time consuming taking it off of one roll to put it onto another, but in the long side of things, definitely makes my life a little easier. Since I've got kind of a small shop, it just saves a bunch of room. Still got more work to do that I'm going to be doing over the next month here in the shop, kind of reorganizing and reworking everything. So we're not going to do a whole lot this month, but definitely want to get a few things in here. Yeah, actually they do. I actually still know where there's a few of the ancient transistors for those that like the RFX 75s that took the 75, I think it was a 7530. They actually came out, you see the number on it, focus. Anyways, it's the ERF 9530s. And I've played around a little bit with those. I've got probably 20 in stock. Not a lot, but I keep a few of those on hand. And the reason why is because there's multiple different applications. One of which that I want to tinker around with is I want to do some playing with those and see about building a small MOSFET amp. I built a 2-pill here roughly about a year and a half ago, and the guy has just absolutely abused it. I mean, used and abused it. It was kind of my first test run. I never did do a video on that one, but it's one that I was kind of disappointed on the output, but he liked it. He wanted it, so I sold it to him. He's still running it today, although it doesn't put out as much as some of the 2-pill amplifiers. He's really pleased with it. Shoots skip all the time, but he's actually wanting. And my next adventure into that is going to be a 4-transistor version before I attempt what he's wanting me to do. And again, everything's all hinged on, this year how work all hits with this COVID-19 that's been going on. But he's actually wanting a 32 pill version built using those RFX 95 transistors, just because of the fact that he's not been able to tear up that little one that I built. And he is one that is not easy on equipment in any way, shape, or form. So, he realizes he's still not going to get the power that he would out of like the 2879s or something like that. But you're looking at less amp draw. Yeah, you are looking at less wattage. You're looking at less heat. But he wants something that he is long-winded. Good God, is this man long-winded? He wants something that he can key down for long periods of time. Of course, he's got a lot of friends around him too that they do competitions. So we'll see how that goes. Do I still do do I repair radios? Yeah, I've been trying to cut back on the radio repairs themselves and concentrate more on amps and power supplies. I want to get into doing a little bit more R&D on some of the different transistors and what have you. And like I said, I went back to work and they work me 70 to 80 hours a week generally, and that eats up a lot of time. An incredible amount of time. So let's see who sent me a message. What the screen says, I've got some stuff that's right in the way of that screen. I've already preset all these, but we're going to go back and do a double check. Put the confirmation dot on. We're on what we say we're on. Because these are actually going to be mounted in this format. So this lets me know no matter which way I flip them, I know I've got them. Oh, you're fine, buddy. You're fine. That's what we're here for, just to sit there and do a little jaw jacking and do a little building at the same time. So, yeah, you're perfectly fine, buddy. All right. Now, the only thing that I didn't pre-drill for was my added capacitor. And the reason why is because I hit stopping point and I didn't want to go and get another part out of the bin. So that's something we're going to go ahead and do some mock-ups for here real quick, or we can get it taken care of. Yeah, I like to use a chamfer bit. It just does such a nicer job on taking care of any burrs on the hole. Well, skip coming in. One of the other things too, going into 2020, that we're actually going to be changing. Usually on the 50, I'll probably stay with the bolts and using the washers. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So these are actually insulated. There's actually a small little lip, quite hard to see with all the blinding lights in here. But anyways, there's a small little lip on here that typically I'll inset into one of these holes, kind of like this, and it insulates your positive and negative. These I'm still going to be using these on the really small stuff like the 50 and the 100. Once you jump up to the 150 and above, unless you specify and want to spend the upcharge, I'm actually going to be starting to use this type of connector here. I really like these, but these are like $34 a set with stainless steel. They're actually what's called a true firewall battery terminal. But these are really good, and I like using them for the most part a lot. Now, if you go up to your 4, 6, 800 amp, they've got bigger versions, which I do have. But as far as on the smaller stuff, basically from about 400 amps down to the 150, I'm actually going to make these standard from here on out. It does add a little bit more to the cost, but saves me a little bit more time, and I don't have to fiddle with it as much. So that's part of the reason why we're doing that. It's still just a better type of connection. Plus, they're pre-color coded, so you got red and black. Makes my life a whole lot easier in the long run, that's for sure. Alright, so make my life a little easier. Let's push this over. I'll grab some heat. I want to throw some heat on this real quick. Looking for crazy things and find them all day long. It's another one of the things I need to order again. Hello, Kevin. How you doing today, buddy? Sitting there being bored? Well, you were doing a little tinkering the other night. Just a second here. Let me case out of my way. This thing being right behind my feet. There, that gives me a little bit more walking room. Okay. It's made it really nice, actually, having this one toolbox that I bought here the other day. We got it set up with nothing but amplifier and power supply parts. It's been great. Mainly because of the fact that I can move it around in the shop if I need to, but more so than anything, the drawers pull out so far, I only have to take one step if I need screws, transformers, relays, stuff like that. It's a little overkill, but sure has made life a lot easier. Also made it great for repairing. Oh, so it was bad batteries after all. That's good to That's good to know. I'm gonna say, yeah, I haven't known of anybody that's really had any issues out of it, and I didn't see anything bad on the board. Like I said, I just had pictures to go off of. It's hard to diagnose, and that's one of the things that I think people don't understand is, I had a guy yesterday call, and asked me how much it would be to fix his radio. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't have it here. They wanted me to give him a price on what it would cost, and all I could do is give him a hourly labor rate plus parts, and go from there. So I don't know if he's going to try to send it. I don't know if he's going to try to send it to me or not. Mainly because he wanted to know exactly how much it would be, and it's like, well, until it goes across the bench, I mean, you could have a dirty connector, you could have low file, you could have bad audio chip, you could have, half the radio missing on the inside. I don't know. All I can do at that point is just give somebody a rough estimate as to what it's going to cost. All right. So one of the things I should have probably done, but I didn't. It's okay. Let's trim those back because I've still got to go ahead and put my big lugs on those. What happens when you put the cart before the horse? I think what I'm going to do when I'm in town today is actually pick up a set of casters for sure. I should need that one. Wish these came pre-drilled and make my life so much easier. See a little bit more of what I'm doing here. We're just putting a little weep hole inside these so that once we get them crimped, we can go back and solder our lugs on them. Make it a little easier for the solder to wick up in there, having that chamfer on there. And again, it would have been easier if I'd have done this before I put them all on the power supply, but I don't want to have to undo the work I've already done, so we're just going to fight it. It's crimped on, soldered in place. Go about our happy day. Good afternoon again. Figured you'd be missing it sooner or later. this up and get it out of the way here real quick, and then we'll back on track. So what are you into today, Kevin? I'm gonna grab some heat shrink. That way when we're done, I can just slip it over there. I need a bigger heat shrink. Yep. You hooked up the Connex to the 3-fill. I hope that Connex is turned down, buddy. That's a bit much, in my opinion. Okay. Just gonna pull that off because I've got to get a couple more rolls of solder put on here too. Just fill it till it pukes, or tries to. Well, that's good. But you also turned the power supply down. Now those two Shibas are just as they are. They are listed as unobtainium for good reason. Nearly impossible to find anymore.
Big D, about 10 down looking.
We won't inspire that.
Yeah, what kind of weather you got down there in Big D today? Well, warm up with the moisture, so when it gets hot again, it's going to get humid. Yeah, copy that. It's kind of cloudy around here, mist and rain, and a little bit on the cool side in the 50s there. Copy that. Alright, we just heard you in there. I thought we'd swing the house around that way and wave a hand. So have a good day down there at Cracker Box in Indiana. We're listening. I got you.
And just like that, that part's taken care of. You guys are getting quiet. Come on. It's a beautiful day. Alright, so got that warming up because we're going to use that to take out that little bit of rattle. Let's see if I can see it. Definitely need some different wheels on that thing. Jimmy Christmas. It's actually getting kind of warm in here, so I decided to open up the door. Yeah. Well, they're little roller ball bearings is what they are. And yeah, it's kind of a pain in the rear. Kind of like this is going to be. That loose because I know these holes are just little. Tight side. Okay, so holes are at right underneath the label. They've got a label covering them up, so I'll pull through those labels so that I can get the screws started easier. That was almost a boo-boo. Almost a boo-boo. I'll take it out now as I would to get it all back together and then have to take it out the hard way. Somebody's blowing me up. Yeah. Yeah, there's something else around here sometimes. And I've had 2 of my trees cut down, so I don't have near the birds I used to. Too tight. Need my wiggle room. Seen some guys build these, and man, they're able to do it super fast. And I got one in here about a year ago, and the guy actually charged him a little more than what I normally do, building the power supply. Well, it went down, and he asked me what it cost to have it repaired, and I gave him an educated guess. And I went to do the repair. I called a customer back and said, well, scratch out, it's going to be, this, and this is why. I sent him a picture. And whoever built the power supply, the only thing that he used to actually put them in the cabinet was double-sided adhesive. So there was no screws. I mean, nothing to help support any of the modules. And I tell you, I was just mortified with shock. But that's how he was able to get it done in such a short time. It's no holes, which is great, but bad at the same time, because I feel like they need to be mounted. The world is trying to call me. Oh, come up says spam. No surprise, the phone took care of it. These little gals here separated. pushback. We've got them all the same length on the other end here. And then you go take care of the other. And we'll pull all that stuff back here in a little bit. We'll mount everything. Or finish up our wiring anyways. Sure, the corner. Too wild and crazy. We're going to go ahead and plug these in because I know that it's going to be tight fit back there. I'm not going to use a lot, but we are going to use a little bit to help, like I said, support it and make sure that it can't move, especially during shipping. See you later. What I'm doing is I'm actually pushing down on my zip ties. Well, I'm not actually doing anything to the wire. Those zip ties just got it tight enough. And it'll just lay right down in. Nice and snug as a bug in a rug. Figured maybe my old buddy 3 would pop in there. I haven't talked to him in a while. Well, since yesterday anyways. Sent him a message letting him know I was going to do a live feed. He usually pops in there. Almost sounds like a nature show in there, doesn't it? I'll get up here in just a second. I'll shut that door. Yeah, some of them are pretty. Some of these birds are actually pretty aggravated at me because I sit there and took away their nesting area. They were getting up here in the shop. I had a new roof put on last summer, and no, they didn't finish the trim on the bottom side, and the birds could get up in the overhang and make a nest. Well, I took and put the kibosh on that. Got a couple of boards and filled the spaces in. Then where the edge cap is on there, I took some copper. It's nothing more than steel wool, but it's a copper steel wool. And I shoved those holes up full with those. So, you know, now the birds can't peck it out or anything else. The variables, the challenging part, the 40 amp modules, they don't fluctuate as well when you're making variable power supplies, but just send me a message and so that I can have a reminder. Just send me a message on my phone and I'll figure up a one with just 3. This one's actually got 4 in it, so this one's a little bit more expensive. And I don't know, Kevin, if you want the what I call the deluxe model as far as with the connectors or not. And I really like them, you know, as far as myself. But it adds, like I said, they cost me about $30 a set right now. Unfortunately, they raised the price. I was getting for like 25. Now they're costing me like 30. So, you know, I figure about $10 by the time I buy the bolts, the knock washers, and all that other stuff for all the other hardware and everything for the other way. So, like I said, I'm kind of starting to lean more towards using these. I've even considered it for the small ones. It's just, you know, I'm trying to stay within a certain price bracket too for everyone. And, you know, that kind of becomes difficult at times. It really does. You know, to try to price match, and I mean, I'm not necessarily trying to price match, but at the same time, do it for what everybody else is doing it for. You know, and a lot of it's just based on what it costs to actually build it. You know, and the differences. I mean, you know, how I build is different than, you know, Joe and George and Bill and Fred. You know, so I mean, a lot of it on some of the different price differences is, well, what are you getting? You know, generally, like, for example, a 50 amp, you know, on a 50 amp supply, I don't bother with an amp meter. I can put one in there, but, you know, I don't figure in the cost for a 50 amp or even a 100 amp. Usually 150 and above is where I start using what we got here. Shut those noisy guys up. No, I can't work for free, but like I said, a lot of it just has to do with the differences in the components, that people are using. That's just like the guy that I buy my 40 amp supplies from. I know that he charges me more, but I've only had one out of like 80 or 85 that was actually bad that I got from, so almost one in 100, which is pretty decent, as far as out of box failure. You know, I typically use a circuit breaker in the front. That's depending on when and where I buy those. That's 20. That's 20 some bucks for that. For the amp and voltmeter, even though it's a China version, you're still looking about 20, about $22, $23. Especially now since they charge tax on everything that you buy. So, I mean, there's a lot of it that really adds up and adds up quick. As far as a whole. Go to town today. I've got to get some more of these as well. It's my last big spade. Supposed to watch all the time because I'm gonna have to go here in just a little bit. Heat shrink. Yeah, there's times I wished I could work for free, but I can't. Well, maybe one of these days when retirement hits, I'll be able to just do this and just charge parts. These connectors are gonna tight. Just score it just enough and break it. And if it didn't try to bite off too much, you can do it nice and easy like that. Should be the right connector. Nope, small. Make a list. I've only seen 3 things, and I'm down to like just 1 or 2 of them. All right. All right, guys. I know I'm not done, but unfortunately, my time is getting near the end, and I have got to go and take care of an appointment. But we will be back, and I'll get this finished up. We'll do a video this evening on it, so I can get it boxed up and sent out, and then we're going to start on another one. So, guys, I appreciate you popping in for the visit, and we'll talk at you a little bit later. Thanks for popping in, and we will be seeing you soon. Take care, everybody.